Hello economics students, in this video we're going to look at the composition or the makeup of net foreign debt and net foreign equities, and in the next video we'll look at the causes. So a couple of things to think about before we get into what these each mean. The first thing is that we need to understand that when we're measuring net foreign debt and net foreign equities, they are what we call a stock measurement or a stock variable if you were talking to a macroeconomist. And what that means is that we're measuring something at a point in time. Now that's important because it's different to the balance of payments, which is what we call a flow measurement or a flow variable, and that is over a period of time. So we're measuring changes over a certain period. So just to give you a silly example, a stock measurement for you would be, as of today, how much money do you have in your bank account? That's a measurement at a point in time. A flow variable might be, how much did you earn and spend over the last week? Okay, so we're measuring changes over a period of time. The other language here that's important is we're still looking at net. So we're looking at net foreign debt and net foreign equities, which just means the difference between. In this case, it's the difference between Australia. Let's see if I can draw in Australia. Well, that's bad. The difference between Australia and the rest of the world, and that's my globe. That's the net part. Together, when we add net foreign debt and net foreign equities, basically what we're measuring is our liabilities and assets to the rest of the world in net terms. And the fancy term for that, if you look at the ABS, is our net international investment position, or net foreign liabilities. Let's break them down. So the first one is called net foreign debt, but I would love for this to be called net foreign debt liabilities, because when what we measure in net foreign debt is what we owe. So owe is important. A debt is something that you owe. So this is in the form of a loan, or it could be in the form of a fancy loan called bonds, which is really how big loan transactions are made, huge loan transactions. But you don't need to know about that yet. So how do we measure net foreign debt? Well, firstly, we need to know that it's talking about loans. The second thing we need to know is it's debt, foreign debt. So debt to countries that are not Australia. And the third thing we need to know is that it's debt in net terms. So let's break it down. First thing is it's the total stock or the total value of loans that Australians owe to overseas countries. Now, when we say Australians, we don't care who. It could be households, businesses, or governments, but the total amount of loans owed overseas is the first part, and then it's less, because we're looking at net foreign debt, less the total stock of loans that overseas countries, all different overseas countries, owe to all different Australians. So let me draw this for you. Hopefully this is a better Australia. No, it's not. So it's the amount of loans that Australia owes to the rest of the world, less what the rest of the world owes to us. And that would give us our net foreign debt, or our net foreign debt liability. So to give you an example, maybe Australia owes the rest of the world $100 billion. It's way more than that. And the rest of the world owes us, call it $50 billion. And so our net foreign debt would equal $50 billion. Let's have a look at net foreign equities. And again, I'd like net foreign equities to be called net foreign equity assets, because we're looking at a different kind. Of transaction here. We're looking at what Australians own overseas versus what foreigners own in Australia. So we're still looking at foreign equity, but equity means ownership or assets. So things like shares, businesses, property, factories, they are assets. They're not liabilities. So how do we measure this? Well, it's the total stock or value of assets that are owned by overseas countries in Australia. So all the assets that are owned by foreigners in Australia, less what Australians own overseas, because of the net part. So let's say, for instance, that foreigners owned about $100 billion in assets in Australia, if we totaled it all up. But Australians, we owned actually $200 billion of assets overseas. Well, net foreign equity would equal negative $100 billion. And what that actually means is that in net terms, we own more assets. So let's have a quick look at what it looks like. We own more assets, compared to what the rest of the world owns in Australia. It's a bit of a mouthful. So this is what it looks like if you looked at the ABS information. You can see net foreign debt is in fact a positive figure. It's above $1 trillion. And that just means that in net terms, we owe the rest of the world, above $1 trillion. Our net foreign equity is a negative number. So it's about negative $260 billion, which actually means in net terms, we own $260 billion more than the rest of the world owns in Australia. We add those two together and we get these bars, which is our net international investment position, which basically shows us the total liabilities and assets to the rest of the world in net terms. All right, hopefully that helped. Bye for now.